Welcome back, everyone. We're so excited that you're here with us. We're really excited about this upcoming panel, the educators that are going to share about building community with colleagues and staff. I know we had a technical glitch earlier today, and so I want to make sure that everyone gets to hear the message from the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, and we're going to start with that.
Welcome, educators and STEAM Symposium champions. My name is LaKenya Jordan, and I am the Executive Director for the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls. It's such an honor to be here with you today, as your contributions play a vital role in our girls' future in this state and throughout this country. As an educator, you hold the keys to the future as your energy, time, love, compassion, knowledge, and wisdom are poured into our girls every day. It makes all the world a difference in building the confidence they need to get through K-12 education and ultimately in those latter years where it becomes especially difficult, especially for women of color and girls of color who often face socioeconomic challenges and other disparities because of their race. With your additional support, we can build the kind of college students and workforce that build a brighter future that represents America and the diversity it needs to ensure a brighter future. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the California Commission on the Status of Women and Girls, one of our co-hosts. I also want to thank our other co-hosts, the California Department of Education. And now I'm excited to welcome to the stage our panelists and educators. And we'll start with our moderator, Jacqueline.
Thanks, Glennon. I'm so grateful to be here today. I'm excited to be a part of this panel. I want to say thank you for asking me to do this. For those of you who do not know, my name is Jacqueline Ollison. Some people call me Dr. J. I work at the CDE Foundation, but my first and foremost love has always been education and teaching, in particular math, and then now with teacher educators and teacher preparation programs. I really feel strongly that in order to have a beautiful community, that we must make sure that we are always attending to the well-being of our educators so that they can then attend to the well-being of our students. And part of that includes building a strong community amongst the staff. So with that, I'd like to bring in our other panelists. And as I do, I'm going to just ask them to share a little bit about themselves and a little bit of information. They'll introduce themselves so you will know who they are. So I've got Olivia Reed, Cicely Day, and Jennifer Hosh. Actually, before I ask you all to share your origin story, Glennon, I'm thinking that, it's 11:23. We've been here since about 8:30, 9 a.m. Might be time for a stretch break. You have something that you can maybe share with us that will help us take that quick stretch dance break?
Happy to help.
Okay, thank you. All right, everyone, when you see this video, feel free to get up, move, dance, stretch, whatever you need to do so you'll be ready to go and enjoy this amazing film.
I'm full. I'm so full. I can't even move.
Give me the paper. I'm so happy. Go, Howard. I'm so happy. Sing. I'm happy.
I'm happy. So happy. I'm happy.
There you go. There you go.
Now break it down.
It's my song.
This is a shame. Cause I'm happy.
You like a
So happy.
Is this what you think?
Yeah, I say I'm happy, Congressman.
I have a drink that really
No. Break it down, Congressman. Break it down.
Hope you all are breaking it down yourselves.
Nothing can break me down.
It's right.
All right. Thank you. I hope you all took a moment to just stretch and kind of get your energy level up. And with that, I am so excited again to introduce our panelists, and we're going to start with Olivia Reed.
Start with me? Okay.
Yes.
Hello, everybody on the internet that I can't see. My name is Olivia. I use pronouns she, her, and they, them. We're going straight into our origin stories. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Yep.
Okay, sure. Let's see. I actually started out in theater, and I studied directing and scenic carpentry, and then slowly just like, you know, kind of found my sweet spot of like building things and leading people, and started to work in various like nonprofit realms. Like I worked for Austin Tinkering School and a company here in Portland, Oregon, called Wind and Oar Boat School, where we build boats with kids. But I think sort of the moment when I was like, oh, like I need to go into this, like I need to be an educator, is I remember at Austin Tinkering School one summer, I watched a 5-year-old completely safely, like to a T, use a compound miter saw. Like I just stood there and like they did it. They did everything perfectly. They had their safety gear on, and I was like, I don't think adults like understand how amazing kids are, like how much they can do, like, or people that are outside of the education like world, you know, like I always hated how adults would talk to kids, and I was like, the 5-year-old is using a miter saw, like they can do so much, like we don't trust them with enough stuff. And the other side of that was like, as like a gender nonconforming person and as a lesbian, like representation was really important to me. And I remember like the look that the like little girls would get when they were like, wow, like Miss Olivia is so strong, or like, you know, like she can carry this thing, or like she's using tools. And I just remember it was like really influential to me because like I didn't have that when I was growing up. And so now I work at a Title I school called Fabian, K-8 school. And I just see how like me just being me, and like, you know, the kids come into the room and they're like, oh, like, wow, like I could do this. And I just see like the confidence that they gain in like just seeing it modeled somehow or like represented. And I feel like something I felt like I could do with my skill set and like my person was help students that are like, you know, in maybe uncertain, right, socioeconomic situations or like marginalized communities, that I can like give them agency and I can give them power and like put making in their hands to be like, no, like you can tear apart this world and build it back together, like however you want to do it. So
I love that.
That's where like my heart is when I'm trying to educate people. So now I'm actually in a program to become a teacher, because right now I run the Makerspace as a classified staff member, and I'm working on getting my master's right now.
Congratulations, that's so awesome.
I'm
so glad that you are a part of the community, and as well as, you know, becoming a teacher. I love that. Now, everyone, I bet you're wondering what we're doing. Well, part of building community with staff or with your students is always being present and vulnerable and letting people know who you are. And so as our panelists introduce themselves, they're also going to tell you a little bit about how they got to be where they're at. So we're going to move to Cicely Day, and then we're going to finish with Jennifer Hush. Okay, and then we'll go right into a few questions. Cicely.
Hello everyone. I'm Cicely Day, and my origin story is not your normal origin story. I didn't want to be an educator. I had no desire. I was going to be the greatest fashion designer Paris has ever seen. I was going to have Black models and people of color and all these clothes with colors and rainbows and everything. I was going to be like this hippie Berkeley chick. And I was working at Fresh Choice and I didn't like it. And my mom, who is a retired instructional assistant, was saying, hey, why don't you try being an instructional assistant sub? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, Mom. I've seen you complain and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, try it. You might like it. So I applied, and I remember my first day I was working in a child care center, and there was a teacher who was blind, but he had complete control of the classroom, and the kids were just loving it. I was like, this is amazing. So my humble beginnings for many years was an early child care educator. And then I wanted to do more, and I wanted to be more involved. So I decided I wanted to go to school, which was a long journey. It took me a long time to get my BA. And then I got my teacher credential, and there's more to the origin story. I was pregnant again, subbing as a substitute teacher and getting my credential, and I just got married. And then I really, fell in love with, my mother sews. So she was a seamstress, and she made clothes, and we did things for Halloween and any other holiday, and just, I love to dress up. I love the imagination of it, but I love watching my mother put in her kitchen floor and watching her, make preserves and gardening. And so the maker bug was always there, but I didn't see a lot of people that look like me in that until I started, really going to Maker Faire and exploring and really wanting to do something different. So I started with coding and robotics with kids. And now I'm at the Fab Lab at West Contra Costa Unified School District. I'm the Fab Lab coach there, and I get to work with everyone around my passions and, really help all of our kids see that everybody could be a maker. That is not just one particular group of people who could be makers, but everyone. We've been making for thousands of years. This is not a new concept. And so, I didn't want to do this. And here I am now, trying to be a librarian now. I'm back to school. So
I so appreciate your story, Cicely. And thank you for sharing. I know that a lot of people can probably relate. Maybe education wasn't your first love, but I'm so glad that you're here. And I know that our students will be better for it. Thank you for that. And so now I'm going to turn to Jennifer.
Yeah, I can hear you. So we're good. Yay. I think that when I was listening to Cicely, it made me think of a few things. So I grew up in a family of teachers that my grandmother worked in a one-room schoolhouse, and I hated school. Hated it. I can't even tell you. I am the epitome of those kids that come into the principal's office. And so I am a principal at Judson and Brown Elementary in California. And I identify with that group very well because I was one of those little stinker buds that we love. But my grandmother took me to that one-room schoolhouse that she used to teach in that had all fallen down and introduced me to Little House books. And I started to read and just started to love it. And started to play school with my cats and teach them to read and, some of those things. And I grew up in Pennsylvania, very remote, and was in 4-H and learned to sew and cook, and always also wanted to go into fashion of some sort. And never did, because I think similar to Cicely, I grew up in an area that was all farming. There weren't a lot of opportunities. There weren't things that could push me towards that or give me that experience to see if that's what I really wanted to do. And when I came to California and became a principal, it was kind of a lot of schools on the verge of these makerspace, tinker spaces and things like that. And we started at our school. That was my big focus, was we need to be able to have these experiences for kids so they know what they want to do when they get older and can pursue that before it's too late, or they feel it's too late and then they give up totally on it. And so I gathered a group of amazing teachers and staff, and we totally changed our whole library. And we have sewing machines and the robots too, and those kinds of things, but other things, and the electrical and the engineering part and the building part for the kids, so that they can be immersed in those types of things they might not have any other opportunity to do until they're maybe in college and it's already too late because they've got this major declared or whatever it is. But that has become a huge focus for me, is those experiences. So
I love that. Thank you for sharing, Jennifer. I'm just thinking about how all of your experiences have led you to what it seems like to me a strong passion for making school exciting and engaging for all of your students. And when you think about that, you're building a strong community amongst your students, right? So my question to you is, when you think about staff and school sites, what does it mean to build a strong community amongst staff? What does that mean to you? And I'm going to throw it out to all of you, and whoever would like to go first, feel free. And then before you answer, I would just like to say that part of building community among staff, especially when you're in platforms like this, is to engage in the chat. If you hear something that you love, if you think it's amazing, if you want to co-sign on that, feel free to type something. If you have questions, feel free to type and send messages to our panelists. Believe it or not, some of them are nervous and you probably cannot tell, but let's show everyone some love. Okay, so back to the question, what does it mean to build community among staff? What does that mean to you? Jennifer, I can't hear you. Are you talking?
Sorry about that. I always forget. I just think for our staff, the first thing is just the trust. How do you build the trust part of it? So we have to figure out how to do that, whether it's those, especially when you're online, because you want people to feel comfortable to talk to you about things that are going on. You need to have a playful kind of, what do you call it, relationship. You can't get there if you don't have the trust. You have to be able to unload all those things that are happening so that we can support each other. And you can't do that without trust. Trust is something that has to be, you have to be very consistent in what you do. And not only that, in building community and having trust, is really recognizing and pointing out those things that each individual does that is so wonderful. And not, one of the things that I use is those Post-it sticky notes, and you just putting something on there that is, man, that was awesome, or specifically though, not just like you're awesome, but specifically, it was great when you did such and such, or I saw you do this with your kids on your platform. And that is huge. That's something that's really important to do.
I love that. I'm hearing lots of awesome things there, and I'll recap in a minute. But Olivia or Cicely?
I was just gonna say, jumping off of that, I also think, like, to build trust, you have to show up authentically and like just be so vulnerable at the same time. Like, especially now that we can't like connect in person, it's so much harder that you kind of have to like bear yourself in a different way to be like, let's open up, let's connect, let's talk. Like, the social emotional side of things also.
Okay, awesome.
Yes, relationship building, I think, is so important.
Sorry, Cicely, I think you cut out.
Sorry, I thought I clicked off the microphone. Can you guys hear me now? Sorry about that.
Yes.
So as I was saying, while you couldn't hear me, relationship building, I think just building relationships with people, or just with your colleagues and with your staff, is so important. And just, coming to understanding that we're all going through this together and that we're all here for each other, and just really emphasizing, like Olivia said and Jennifer, just the social emotional piece and the connection piece, and just really being vulnerable and putting yourself out there, I think is so important.
I love that. You know, as you all were talking, I was just jotting some notes, and you talked about building community requires trust. It requires a willingness to be authentic and vulnerable and to work on those relationships. And, you know, one of the things that you mentioned is giving people space. Jennifer, I'm going to come back to you. You said something like giving people space to give, you know, to lift get things off of their chest. And so I wanted to know, obviously that must be something that you think is a key factor in building community. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about what are some things you specifically do to engender trust and to give space? And if there are any other key factors that you think are a part of it.
I think that's a tough one because I really think that it depends also on yourself and what you're willing to do. The very first thing I do with my staff is I give them my cell phone number, and they can use it whenever they want. And in doing that, just that, they know I trust them not to abuse that, or like I'm giving them my cell phone number. You know, that's like a big start. But also then, anytime there's a text, it is an answer. It is a immediate answer and feedback. And once just that very small thing at the beginning, what that has done is given those teachers, like, it might not be on a weekday during those work hours. It's on the weekend, on a Saturday when something happened and they just couldn't talk about it. Like, hey, by the way, da 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 da. And they tell me all these things that are so important for me to understand then how Monday's going to look, or how this might look for them, and how then can I support them, or what can I do? Sometimes it's just listening. That is, I think, for me, one of the foundational pieces that has to happen. Then also the consistency with the communication. And when I email, or if I screen share, or whatever it is, it's always including personal things. What did I do? Here's part of my life. Quirky pictures, like when I went to Flagstaff to visit my daughter, those huge moose crossing signs that scare the death out of me. I take pictures next to them that are quirky and send them in an email at the bottom. Next, you know, things that give them an insight to who you are. So they're also willing to take the time to let me know who they are. And that is the foundation of trust, is getting to know each other, just like we have to do with our students, but we don't do it as often with our staff and adults. So those are just a couple little things that seem really kind of small, but they're huge.
They're definitely huge. I mean, when I was an administrator, people had my number, but when I was a teacher, I wasn't sure that I actually ever had my principal's number that way. I had to send a message. So I think that's pretty brave, but I think it's also, it makes perfect sense, right? But it's just small things like that. Now, Olivia, when you were talking, I also noticed that you talked quite a bit about being vulnerable. And even in your origin story, you just being upfront and direct about who you are. Do you believe that is one of the key factors of building community? And if so, how do you model that with staff?
Yeah, I mean, I think I saw in the chat, also thank you everyone for the support. I saw the shout outs. I get really distracted, so I was like gonna respond, and then I was like, I need to just listen. Yeah, I think it is always such a struggle. Like, you don't know, like, within your school community how people feel, like parents feel. And so I just like made a pact with myself that was like, okay, my principal has my back. I'm just going to be me. And like, and I've seen like huge benefits from it, even though like it is a little uncertain sometimes, or like a little, like you do have to be brave to be like, it's me, you know? But yeah, I think, just like, I don't know, when Jennifer was talking, she was talking about like listening, and I feel like that's one thing I do really well. So like, one, showing up as myself and not like trying to like compete with anybody, or like, I know what my strengths are and I know what like my flaws are, and that like I can show up and be like, how can like my strengths build on your strengths, and like talk to me, like, what are your problems? Like, maybe I can help. And I feel like just showing up with kindness as myself and like fully present and fully there. I feel like the times that we've created the most amazing like makerspace projects have always been in those like casual interactions that like, you're passing in the hallway and you're like, whoa, you seem cool, like let's talk for a little bit, and then right, like there's that energy exchange, like you get excited and things happen, and like that's where all of my relationships have really built with teachers, because they're all kind of in their own little world sometimes, and it's like you have to be very intentional, and especially now you have to be extremely intentional about like running into people because there is no hallways that we're running into people in. So yeah, I think just like showing up kind and being yourself, it's like it goes a long way. People can tell, I feel like people can tell.
I had clicked my mic on there, but yeah, I appreciate that. And I also appreciate the nod to this idea around being intentional in your willingness to be vulnerable and your willingness to create connection, especially in light of today, right? Everything's online. And Cicely, I think I heard you talk a little bit about social and emotional wellness, right? And how that's part of building those relationships. I was wondering if you think that's one of the key factors of building community. And if so, do you have any ideas or suggestions or even examples of how you go about creating social emotional well-being amongst your staff or students or whatever it is that you might be doing?
So I'm doing summer learning right now, and I have a few students who come in office hours. And office hours were supposed to be a time where I answer questions or help out with something. And it's actually turned into sit and let's do a maker circle with Miss Day. So we sit and we make stuff. And it's just been really, I think that social emotional piece of just wanting to connect and wanting to be with other people and talk with other people. The situation we're in is isolating at times. And you can only do your family for so long before you want to reach out and be with other people. And that situation that I just shared, I feel is a prime example of just how much we really want to have this back and forth with each other socially. And then also I was doing a few bullet journal meetups with teachers, and I stopped for a little bit because it's summer and people want to, relax and regroup. Can we go back? Can we plan this? And just, we all want to feel connected, even though we're going through this situation. We want to feel like our wants and our needs are met, but we also just want to socialize. We want to feel, normal again in some way. So, I think it's just, yes.
Well, I think I heard you say that people do want to be connected, and I think it's interesting because right now you have to work a lot harder at building the community since we're not in person, right? And it's going to take a little bit more effort, but some of the things I've already heard so far were holding space. You're going to have to explain what a bullet journal is in a minute before we move, right? But phone numbers, but just a space where staff can come together and socialize and talk. You can even build that into your staff meetings. It's a tool I think Jennifer models it very well. It's called a check-in, check-out processes, where you have people check in and let you know how they're doing before you dive into the work. So that way you are more aware of how they're going to be showing up to the work. If someone had a family member who passed away from COVID, I can guarantee you that you're not going to get much, support or attention around lesson planning or whatever it is you might be talking about, right? The makerspace, whatever it is. And so part of building community is letting people know, especially right now, that you're there for them, right? So these are specific tools that you can look up. So check-in, check-out processes is actually a social emotional learning tool. But before we move forward into just talking a little bit more about how you actually do this right now, like what are some more specific things people can do, and that's going to be to everyone. Can you tell us what a bullet journal is, please?
I love the bullet journal.
All right. So bullet journaling started because me and time management are not friends. Also, it started as a way of expressing myself. My brother had passed away some years ago, and I was really struggling with that. And so I was trying to figure out some system that could help me plan my life, but I could also decorate and be artistic and creative. So it's a journal that you buy. It's blank. You can use anything. You don't have to have like a specific thing. But yes, queen, yes.
Literally.
Oh my God. I will show you mine, but I have to get up and that's a whole projection. So I have pictures in mind. Their theme, last year's theme was all superheroes. This year's theme is Black women. So I have pictures of Black women. I have a vision board in mind. I do goal setting, and it is amazing. And I shared this, which we just did something with our students. Last week, I had a good friend come and talk about her bullet journal. And so she shared her bullet journal with my students in the district. And it's awesome. It's the best thing ever.
Awesome.
I actually came, sorry, just to add on to this like bullet journal preaching. I actually came across bullet journals because I have ADHD, and like to externalize your thoughts and put them down on paper. So it's amazing what it does when you're like, oh, it's not like all up here and going crazy. Like it's right here and I know what to do. Great. Like it's a great tool.
It's amazing.
Wow. It sounds like something a whole school site staff might be able to do together. Yeah. Or at least at the very least, introduce it and encourage people to try. Right?
Yeah.
Do you have one too, Jennifer? Because this is the first time I've ever actually heard of this.
I never knew it was called that, but I have probably 8 or 9 that I have lists, and some with boxes, because like Olivia with the ADHD, I'm more ADD, and there's so much. I should own stock and post it. I have everywhere, lists everywhere. And so what I do then is take the Post-its and put them in those journals. And it is, I have a lot. I have one by my bed. I wake up at night and there's things that I just start writing, and then I can sleep. So yeah, it's huge for me.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of chatter, or a lot of comments in the chat about this. And I'm curious if you, in the chat as well, if you have ideas about how you might actually do this with your entire staff and how that could support and help build community. And with that, I'd actually like to say, I'd like to ask, based on everything that we've talked about today, is there something that you might recommend that everyone try, or something that you want people to leave this session with when it knowing and understanding about building community with staff?
I have one thing.
So I'm seeing, oh, okay, me and Jennifer went at the same time. Go, Jennifer, I'm sorry.
Nope, it's okay, Cicely.
I'm seeing the question,
All right, Cicely, we're going Cicely, Jennifer, and Olivia.
Okay, so I'm seeing the question, how might use journals with your staff share ideas? I'm seeing a lot, all of a sudden I said bullet journal, it's like, boo! One, I feel like the bullet journal is a great self-care tool, and you can do whatever you want. So I think one strategy is to, I saw a comment that says use it as a self-care journal. I would totally do that. You can use it as a scrapbooking journal. So if you would want to gather your staff and say, here, buy any journal you want. And then what I would do is just encourage, teachers to just staff, what are some things you want to remember? What are some pictures you want to put in here? I was telling my students, this is a great way to memorialize what's happening, because people in the future are going to want to know how we dealt with this situation. So just, finding a way to, memorialize it, to remember it, but also just, I did a Zoom where we all just talked about what are bullet journals and show people layout. So this is how I do my layout. Here's a web page. Here's a Pinterest site. Go to YouTube. There's a lot of good people. Amanda Rachley is great. Boho Berry is great. There's a lot of great resources out there for that.
Thank you, Cicely. I appreciate that. I think that's something that looks very practical, and I'm imagining a lot of people will take that up. So we'll go to Jennifer and then Olivia.
Really quickly, I just think that, and I'm really kind of stuck on it, is that communication and that touch point, which my superintendent's always big on touch points. But how do you do that? I mean, as a principal, as a staff member, as a grade level team, as whatever it is, emailing or texting or calling or, saying, hey, let's Zoom and just kind of talk as much as you can is huge. I always make it a point to email an individual teacher, not the whole staff. So the individual teacher, and say, hey, how's it going? Anything I can help you with to make this better, easier? What do you need? And that is very meaningful to that person, but it's helpful for me too. I get a lot of response when it's individual, and it makes the person who receives it feel what you're trying to let them know that you care.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And everyone intentionally reaching out to staff and connecting. We do it with our students. Why would it be any different for the adults on campus?
Yeah.
Olivia.
Okay. Well, great points, my fellow panelists. I guess what I was thinking about as you all were talking is like, in order to build community, I feel like you also have to take care of yourself. And like, right, Cicely, like the bullet journal is a great self-care thing. And one thing that I've been pondering on a lot and trying to be intentional with making time for is like my art, or like just something that like, feeds the soul, so that when you do show up to those things, like you're not drained. You're, you can be empathetic, you can be present. And I think it's really important to take time for yourself in such a like weird, crazy, demanding world where like there's so many new things to learn. But I also, it just kind of came out of like, I just wanted some connection, and one of my teacher friends and me, we literally just like set up Zoom. We weren't necessarily talking, but like you did, Cicely, like a making circle, and we did art together. And it was just kind of like feeding us while also bonding. And I feel like in those moments of where like you kind of step back, maybe give yourself a little compassion, a little grace, a little like space for yourself. Like that's where like the ideas start flowing, and like that renewable source of energy where you can keep coming back.
I love that. Thank you all so much for being present with us today and just sharing your thoughtful wisdom about building community with staff. I do want to reiterate the last comment that Olivia made around grace. We often extend that to others, right? We know that this time is hard. There's a lot of trauma, a lot of things that people are going through. And with our students, we're offering a lot of support and care. And even with our colleagues, we're also offering a lot of support and care. But part of being part of a staff means that you are there too, right? So make sure that you're taking care of yourself, and all of the love and the support and the compassion and grace you extend to others, make sure that you extend that to yourself as well. In the chat, Glennon posted a link to the CUE Foundation's new blog. I have an article in there. It's Healing Words for Educators in Light of COVID-19. And there are some other recommendations here around things that you might be able to do just to take care of yourself. Headspace is a great meditation app. It's free for educators. There's mindfulness practices. You can meditate. There's all different types of things that you can try. But all of it, in the end, it comes back to this very important point. If we want our students to be healthy and whole, our staff needs to be healthy and whole. So do whatever you can to support your staff, to support each other, so that we can then go out and make that space safe for all of our students. With that, let's give everyone a round of applause. If they can see you, offer any gratitude in the chat. With that, I am going to turn it back over to Glennon.
Thank you, everyone. That was amazing. We really appreciate it and really appreciate each of you. That was a wonderful discussion and a great way to end the keynote. I'm going to share my screen real quick. In terms of continuing to build community and making space for one another, we certainly want to encourage you to stick around and to join a group over lunch. The option to make your own session is available in the Sessions tab, so please check that out. Again, thanks to all of our co-hosts. Thank you to our lead sponsor, presenting sponsor, the Human Energy Company at Chevron. They've been our presenting sponsor for many years and a great partner. Also want to thank all of our extended partners, the Bechtel Junior Foundation, the Anaheim Ducks, the 49ers, CSU, First Five California, the amazing student panel from the Social Justice Learning Institute this morning, Heising Simons, KQED, and the California STEM Network. Again, please stick around, have lunch, grab a bite, come back to your desk, and connect with your colleagues here in this professional learning community. We're so happy that you're here in this community with us, and hope you'll stay for lunch. And to close, a final thank you to everyone. We hope you have a great day. Enjoy lunch, and we will see you in December. As a reminder, you do have access to the December symposium since you've registered for the pre-conference. And please also complete the session feedback surveys. They're pinned at the chat. And we will also follow up with an event survey. And we really, really appreciate your feedback. It helps us plan for future events. And there will be great prizes for completing the event survey as well. With that, thank you, everyone. That concludes the formal programming, but we hope you join us again for the unconference lunch sessions.